Hi, everybody. It's episode 420 of PodQuest.
Hey, Blaze.
Nice. Is it really 420?
Yeah.
Oh,
We talked about this like 2 weeks ago. I said, hey, Rich, are you going to be like high off your ass in 2 weeks? And you said, maybe.
Yeah, I was like, I gotta talk to my dealer, your wife.
And you never did you?
And I never did because I totally forgot. So,
Man,
Really?
what an asshole.
I mean, it's because of all the weeds I'm smoking. Like, I forget. No
But you
short-term
forgot to
memory.
smoke for episode 420.
Yeah, look, I don't actually smoke that much. I just forgot that it was 420. So,
Sounds like you smoked too much.
I mean, it's been like, what, like maybe 8 months since I last smoked. So, maybe.
You reefer head.
What is this, a 1950s reefer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anyway, it's Wednesday, August 31st, 2022. I am Chris. With me is Druten.
Hello.
And Walnut.
So,
And other than Walnut not being high, how you guys doing?
look, I'm high on life, okay?
Oh, that's a fucking
Sure
lie,
you
and we
are.
both know that.
Yeah, that's not true at all. You know, I am. I had to, I applied to a job last week, and somebody reached out to me and was like, we want to do a phone eval. And I was like, alright, great. Here's when I'm available all next week, meaning this week. I hadn't heard from them. So I'm like, so I reached out to them and I was like, hey, just following up on this. It sounded like you wanted to get it set up. Oh, sorry, I must have missed your message. And they set up the phone call for tomorrow. But it was just like, so I'm like, I'm a little nervous because like I haven't really done an interview in years. Or had a
Let's
phone
say you have
eval.
one for tomorrow.
So it's a phone evaluation or something. I don't really know what they're doing.
That's a phone interview, man.
Maybe, yeah, I kind of have a phone interview tomorrow at lunchtime. So,
Well, congratulations.
I'm hoping I get it because it actually seems like a job I wouldn't mind doing.
OnlyFans?
No, not that. Not yet. You don't need to call in for that. You don't need to apply for that. You just get it. You
I
do
don't know
it.
how it works.
It's the same as streaming. You just do it.
Yeah, but maybe you want to be like a partner.
Well, you need to have so many people pay you before you can get the perks of getting more money.
Well, you better get in that then.
Look, it'll happen. It'll happen.
Well, we know that. We all know that. Side note, Rich, I feel like you might appreciate this. So I got a new cell phone earlier this week because I realized mine was paid off. So I figured, why the fuck not? I had to get a case for it.
Mm-hmm.
And the case I bought came with a kickstand.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you had that phone with a kickstand.
Yeah, the phone literally had a kickstand. That was 2 phones ago? 3? I don't know. It was a while ago. I don't know.
Yeah, that was like that was like pre everyone really having smartphones because you bought a Windows. It was a Windows phone.
It was a Windows phone. Yeah, it was like the last Windows smartphone that they made. And I got no good apps or anything on it. It was great for watching videos and shit. It had
you had that kickstand.
Well, not even the kickstand. Like, at the time, the screen was amazing, and the camera was amazing. Literally, because the next phone I had was, so I think that was the Leo 2 or something like that. And the next phone I had was the Android-powered Sidekick that didn't have a flash on the camera, that had a shitty camera in general. So at one point, I went to the Penhurst Asylum. It was Halloween time. I went to Penhurst. I actually brought and put my SIM card into the old phone that still worked fine to take pictures and whatnot, because that had a better camera than my Sidekick that came out 2-3 years later, because, you know me, I don't get new phones until I really need to, or I break them.
Which is usually when you really need to.
Yeah. But no, like, literally, like, the phone before the one I broke, I had for like 3.5 years, maybe 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, I will run a phone down. I will not get a new phone until I need to. And the only reason I got that last phone was because the phone before it was like, it wasn't connecting to the charger well enough. And I was heading out to a buddy's the next day, and I needed something that was connecting for Android Auto and shit. And the battery would only last for maybe like 6 to 8 hours. So like I needed to charge it, or I needed a new phone.
Which I mean, like that. I get that. I definitely get that. I used to get them way more frequently. Now I wait until my phone is paid off, and then when it's paid off, I trade it in because T-Mobile keeps doing like fairly good trade-in deals that like make my like payment on the phone like significantly lower. So like my bill stays the same, and like phones now last long. Like they seem the nicer phones seem to last longer than they used to.
I mean, they still don't last as long as like a Nokia brick used to, but like they do last. Like at this point, I think average you can get is about 3 years out of them.
And like at 2 years, like that's how long like the payment term thing is for them.
Yeah.
And at 2 years, like my battery on my last one was like it was starting to get a little long, but
you know how like you know why there's no more like replaceable batteries or being able to take the battery out. It's because now we can't replace the batteries when the battery is dying too fast, and we have to get a new phone.
I mean, you're actually not wrong.
Yeah. It's like everything about phones and technology are made and put there to make you use it only within a short life cycle so that they can make more money. Technology is made to break. All technology is made to break.
Yep. I mean, wasn't there that thing for a little while there that like Apple phones had some sort of like thing built into the software that actually made the batteries worse the older they got?
Mm-hmm. And they're also, like, after about 3 versions of the Apple iOS, they start to brick. Like,
which is just, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's usually, like, the 4th version after the release of that phone. Like, the phone won't brick, but it won't be compatible with the new version. Like, I would use my iPad as an example, but my iPad's so old that even if it were Android, it wouldn't be compatible with the current version. But my iPad can't update to the most current version of Apple and Apple iOS.
Yeah, it's surprising that your iPad even turns on still.
I mean, yeah, pretty surprising. If I were to take it off the charge and just let it run, it lasts about 3 days, and that's using Netflix on it to go to sleep every night for about an hour and a half. But I can't update any app. I'm surprised Netflix still works. Because the operating system on that iPad is so old that none of the other apps will be able to update because it needs to be on the newest operating system, except Netflix. Or the version of Netflix is just a compatible version that continues to run with.
I think that actually
Netflix
might be part of the case. Like it happens to just be an old version that they haven't like just said, nope, sorry, this doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
Or Netflix is just that good with their coding that even older versions can continue to work even after.
I doubt that's the case.
I mean, it's been at least like 10 years. I got this phone. It'll be that iPad will be 10 years this December.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And like I forget. Did you say does the battery actually last at all, or is it just plugged in all the time?
It is plugged in all the time, but it could last about 3 days if I unplug it, and that's just from it sitting idle most of the time and me using it an hour and a half each night for Netflix to go to bed.
Which I guess that's not terrible.
No, not at all.
But I guess anyway, Rich, what is on the agenda?
So we had our book club this week. We all watched the hit film Ex Machina. Then Cobb, you got the new Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. I, over the past 2 days, streamed and completed Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. And then I guess Cobb, you watched Chainsaw Man or read it? Probably read it because I don't think it's an anime yet.
No, I read it. It's not.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought this week we would just start with book club because
makes sense.
Why not?
Yeah.
So what did you guys think of Ex Machina?
I really enjoyed it. I did. I thought it was fun. It was interesting. Acting was very well. I love Oscar Isaacs and Domhnall Gleeson. I think I pronounced his name right.
And Drew, how much did you hate it?
It was pretty mediocre, honestly, in my opinion. I liked Oscar Isaac. I could not give 2 fucks about the story or any of the other characters.
See, I thought the story was more. It took more unexpected turns than I expected, I guess.
I had like 4 different outcomes go through in my head throughout the movie. Like 3 or 4 different outcomes go throughout my like oh, you know what, this is what it's gonna be. And then once like that was kind of debunked or they hinted at something, I was like, oh, you know what, that's what it's gonna be. And then once that was debunked and it went into, I was like, oh, okay, so there's that. And then it was what it was. I'm like, oh wow, I actually didn't see that coming.
Yeah, like at certain points, like I was picking up, I'm like, okay, so this is what's going to happen now. but it was definitely one of those. I thought it was going to be one thing, and I'm like, okay, so it's not that thing. I'm like, so is it this thing? And it ended up being like the second or third thing, kind of like you just said, but it definitely like it led you in one direction, but then kind of like took at least a little bit of a swerve.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
not all the way. Like, it didn't totally go crazy, but like I expected Oscar Isaac to actually be like the legit villain of the story, and I legitimately thought he was like. I thought the whole thing was like a trap.
My initial thoughts, even with all like the starting stuff, was that Oscar Isaacs was a robot, and the test that they were putting, I can't remember Gleason's
Caleb.
The test that they were putting Caleb through was a test, not to see if Ava was a robot or to do the test on Ava, but was actually doing the test on Oscar Isaac's character. That's what my head went through the first time. Was like
I can see you thinking that.
Yeah. And then eventually when they started mentioning Imiko or whatever her name was, I think that's what they said her name was. I can't remember, or if they even gave her one. The Asian servant lady that was there.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, oh, she doesn't speak a lick of English. You can say whatever you want around her. She won't know. And that's like a safety protocol for me. Like, at one point it shows her like opening her eyes and like looking over. And I'm like, oh shit, she's a spy. And that's what this is turning into.
That's what Erica thought too. Erica's like, there's no way she doesn't speak any English, because if you see like the look on her face sometimes, it's like she does understand. Like she must be a spy or something.
Yeah.
And there's that one scene where like after he yells at her that she's like sitting in the hallway sad.
Yeah.
And like that kind of leads it like, okay, so this is like a bad situation.
They lead you towards that. And then it turns into like, oh no, spoiler alert guys, she's actually that servant's actually a robot, and it's turning into like, Oscar Isaac's character is just a douche to these robots and is going to wipe this robot's memory, and then it turned into like kind of a weird Pinocchio story. And like all of it
actually that is kind of a good way to put that, yeah.
Yeah. All of it together was like really good, and like it set me through like a bunch of different thought processes, and like how is it like if it had ended in any of the ways I thought it was going to end, as long as they did it well, it probably would have been really good. But the way they did it, and that like the pseudo twist they turned that like, oh, he was right the entire time, and the robot was bad, or not bad, but she just wanted to be freed. That worked super well with how they built up this story.
Yeah, I definitely did not. I expected the twist with the robots. Like, once you kind of started getting that, I'm like, okay, so, like, they're all going to, like, turn on Oscar Isaac. Like, that's kind of what I expected to happen. And I actually thought all those, like, old models were going to somehow be involved. I did not expect, Caleb to also get basically left for dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that was absolutely unexpected. I was like, you know what? He's wrong. He's trying to tell Caleb something that he doesn't want to hear to make Caleb not want to do what's going to happen. And which is that's how they were leading you. Like, oh no, they want you to think that Ava is actually in love with him. And then it takes that turn, and it's just that quick act, or like sub act. I don't know, there's like acts within acts. I don't really know how it works. But like that quick little turn of like, oh no, she's like, you stay here, and then she locks him in there and is like, fuck off, I'm going to an intersection. And it's like, wow, that is not at all what I thought was. I didn't think Oscar Isaacs was right. I didn't think he was true at all.
Yeah. And like it turned out like he was not a villain, he was just a douchebag.
And honestly, he wasn't even. I don't think he was a douchebag. I don't think he was a villain. I don't think he was a bad guy. I don't think he was. He was an eccentric for sure, and he was trying to build something that's never been built before. And he was trying to find all the flaws within this to make sure that this doesn't get out, because Ava's a robot. Ava is property. She should not be let out, because look at what she did to get out. She manipulated one person, killed another person, and then left.
Yeah.
That's what he was trying to prevent. He might have.
if you look at his just character in general, he was a douchebag. Like, he was eccentric. He was a genius. So, like, unfortunately, sometimes that stuff just comes hand in hand. But the way he treated Caleb back and forth, for no real good reason. Like, sometimes he treated him like they were all buddy-buddy. And then other times he treated him like he was beneath him. And that's why I meant, like he was a douchebag. But, like, he was a genius, and he was not a bad guy. He was just, like, he was really in it for himself. Like, he wanted to prove that he could do a thing and keep being rich, basically. And, like, just the fact that he lied and tricked Caleb to even get there, and then kind of, like, set it all up to see if because, I mean, he kind of admits that, like, he set it up to see if Ava could both convince him and make him fall for her. And, like, that's kind of a douchebag thing. Because even at one point, like they're talking about, like Caleb said something like, you didn't really bring me here because of my coding. And he just goes, you're, like, mediocre at best. Mm-hmm. And, like, that's a real douchebag thing to say to, like, somebody who is technically your employee and that you just tricked into this. Like, he could have easily said, it's like, you're a talented programmer, but, like, no, I needed you because you don't, like, you fit the mold of what I needed for this test.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree, but it's also, like, I 100% think it's kind of a gray area, because when it comes to science, like, if you're going to be running, you can't, in a blind test like this, you can't tell somebody you're running a test on them when it's supposed to be a blind test.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that is what made him a douchebag. I'm saying that when he got caught, his reaction to it is, like, his personality throughout the movie, he was very back and forth. He obviously had, like, an alcohol problem. But, like, his personality is that of kind of a D-bag. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, it kind of comes hand in hand with, like, when you're that level of rich and that level of smart, like, you are going to kind of be, because those people always have not always, but 9 times out of 10, they think that they are better than everybody.
Yeah, when it's very, very much, it's like the Tony Stark effect is what I'll call it. Like, when you're that smart, everyone is going to be dumber than you, and you're going to end up talking down to a lot of people. But, like, it's not purposeful a lot of the time.
But, like, and then it also comes down to, like, oh god, what was I about to say? Oh, it's the same way, like politicians. In order to be a politician, beyond, like, a congressperson who's, like, they're in office for, like, 2 years and then maybe they get reelected, but, like, your senators and anything, like, above that, you have to be a sociopath. You have to be an egomaniac and a sociopath to want to do that. Mm-hmm. Because, like, they're the only people, like, they want people to report to them, and they want people to, like, need them. And they want to be able to be the people to tell people what to do. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But I also enjoyed the movie. Like,
yeah. I thought the score was very well done. I thought the script, dialogue, everything, like, nothing was too hokey, nothing was too wild. Like, it makes sense that this was, like, as high praised as it was. And the themes behind it and everything that they were trying to do, and even the science behind it, was just, like, really cool. I like the idea of, like, creating a Jello moldable AI brain for a computer, basically. Like, that's a strange but reasonable idea.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I thought like the effects they used for Ava were actually really good. Like I don't know if like they had her in, like, one of those, like, mocap suits like they do for, like, the Hulk, or if they did it some other way, but generally looked, for being, like, a 7-8 year old movie, like, it actually looked pretty good and not super, like, fake. Yeah. Like, frankly, it looked better than most of the CG in, like, the She-Hulk show does, like, right now.
Yeah, it looked better than some of the CG we saw in friggin' Black Widow. Like,
yeah.
It looked really, really good.
And, like, I think they got I think it worked especially well because the only thing that was still human on her was, like, the face.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, like, you weren't seeing, like her body, her entire body wasn't meant to look like anything other than a machine.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It had the shape of a human, so you could identify all the parts, but, like, nothing about it was human beyond the shape. Mm-hmm.
And her face didn't have that uncanny valley feel because it was legitimately her face and not a CG of her face or something like that.
Yeah. The one thing that kind of, like, skeeved me a little bit in a weird way was their skin. Like, the way that their skin just kind of peeled off, like one of those things you stick on, like the window decals.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it didn't seem to require any sort of, like, tension to remove. It just peeled away, and then she could just stick it to herself.
Yeah.
And, like, she literally took the arm of a taller woman and put it on her, too. I'm just like, I mean, that's very cool that you can just switch things, but, like, that arm is definitely longer than your other robot arm.
She wasn't taller.
She looked like she was taller.
She was just up on a pedestal.
Oh, maybe that's all it was then.
Yeah, like, they were just up higher. All of those other robots were up higher.
But, like, it was just so weird. Like, she was just peeling off, like, sections of, like, skin and just, like, sticking it onto herself. I'm like, are there magnets? Like, is that why it's just coming off so easy and then it just seams together and you can't even tell?
Yeah.
Like, it was weird.
You could tell, but then, like, eventually it somehow molded all together. Like, but yeah, the skin was weird. The part that kind of, like, got me was when he, like, cut his wrist to see if he was real or not. Like, he started to freak himself. I was just like, oh my god, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, that would be a wild, like, another take on this. If, like, this whole movie, he thought he was real, and that's the test, is to see if these AIs think they're real or human or not. And, like, that would be... That kind of blew my mind when he did that. I was just like, this is so actually, cool.
What would have actually been a really fun twist for that would be if he actually was a robot, and either he is a different model that is more humanoid. Mm-hmm. So, like, that he actually... Almost like in Westworld. Like, I don't think either of you guys have watched that. But, no. Like, the robots in that, like... They have, like, fluids in them so that when something happens to them, they look like an actual human dying.
Yeah. So, like, if they get shot or stabbed or their neck gets slit open, like, they bleed the way, like, an actual person would. Mm-hmm.
And I thought that when he started doing that and he started bleeding, I'm like, man, it would be really cool if, like, the twist at the end is, like, Oscar Isaac goes over to the computer and, like, hits a button and he shuts down.
Yeah, like, there's just I think that's part of the great things about the movie is, like, it does bring you through so many different, like, oh, that'd be weird, oh, that'd be cool, oh man, that's so wild, and, like, the ending itself is satisfying, even though it's none of the endings you might have thought it was going to.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say something. Fuck, I lost track of thought. Not so much for Drew because he wouldn't like it. But if you ever have time, you might like the movie Annihilation. It came out, I want to say in like 2017, 2018. It's from the same director, if I remember correctly. And it's got Oscar Isaac in it. Mm-hmm. And then Natalie Portman is like the main person. Very different movie, but like has a similar like vibe to it, if that makes sense. It's the one where like some weird like extra dimensional portal opens up in like the Florida Everglades or something.
Yeah, I remember that movie.
Yeah, it was actually like I watched it like a handful of years ago, like when it was available to like rent on demand or whatever, and like it was a pretty cool, interesting movie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he's the Alex Garland is the director, but he was also the writer of both Ex Machina and 28 Days Later.
Oh, that's right, I forgot he did 28 Days Later.
Mm-hmm. He's
28 Days Later is a good zombie movie.
He's also a writer for Devil May Cry Bloody Palace Mode, Virgil's Downfall, and Devil May Cry Definitive Edition.
Like the original one or the more recent one?
It says the original.
The Ninja Theory. No, I thought it was the Ninja Theory
2013 one. Okay.
Yeah, so that's DMC, Devil May Cry.
Yeah, DMC. He also wrote Dread, Batman Black and White, an episode. So he's done a lot.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I was very, very pleased with this movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. Drew, I'm sorry you didn't, but it's expected at this point.
Yeah, no.
You seem to not hate it, at least.
No, I didn't hate it. It was better than Prey, probably. But
I definitely enjoyed this more than Prey.
I mean, yeah, I loved Prey, but I can absolutely see that. But it's also, these are two different movies.
So yeah, absolutely. But like different movies appeal to different people, and like, this is one that appeals to me more than like Prey did.
Yeah, no, 100%. What I was getting at is like, it's hard to compare these two. Like, you can compare them as two movies, but like the types of movies and the themes and everything with these movies are two completely different movies. Like, one's an
Are
action.
they?
Praise an action film. This is more of a suspense thriller.
They're both
mystery.
They're both about a being that humans can't understand, wanting to, like, you know, have an impact on humanity.
No.
And about humans trying to, like, circumvent them.
The Predator didn't want to have an impact on humanity. The Predator just wanted to prove that he was the best Predator.
And that has an impact on humanity if an alien comes down and murders everybody.
I mean, it's not going to murder everybody. It's just going to murder so many people until his thing is done, until his trial is over.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there weren't that many people back in the 1800s.
It's not going to kill an entire planet.
We don't know that.
That's not how Predators work.
Also, let's be realistic. He is from off-planet. People at that point had different immune systems. Who's to say he didn't bring some weird space disease that would have just destroyed the entire planet?
I mean, true. But, like...
It's like they just found that pool in, like, New Mexico or whatever that, like, hasn't seen, like, any, like, external life in ever, and has bacteria that humans have never come in contact with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's going to destroy the planet.
Yeah.
Like, a solar flare is going to hit it, everything's going to mutate, and we're all going to be dead tomorrow.
Probably.
Yeah.
But, Drew, were you getting ready to say, like, a critique or anything about it? I thought you might have been cut off.
No.
He hates movies. It's fine. One of these days, he's going to get fed up with us, and he's going to make us watch, like, a fucking F1 race or something.
He made us watch wrestling and an F1 documentary.
The F1 documentary was interesting, though.
Yeah,
because documentaries are good.
I mean, I'm not denying that. I'm not doubting that. I'm not saying they're not. But I'm just saying...
Some documentaries are good. Some, very fucking bad.
Oh, I mean, fair.
I do want to watch that Woodstock 99 documentary on Netflix.
The one with The Miz in it?
Oh, is he in it?
Yeah.
Was he at Woodstock or something?
Yeah, no, like, that's what I mean by he's in it. Like, I think in the trailer for it, like, the very first screen, like, his face is front and center, and everyone was like, wait, is that The Miz? And yeah, it was fucking Mike Mizanin.
Is that pre him doing Real World? I think that's pre Real World, right?
99?
I think his Real World season was like 2000, 2001.
It's right around... I'm not sure. Let's see.
2001.
Yep. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, that dude did reality TV like crazy, because he did that, then he did the Real World Road Rules challenges, and then I'm pretty sure he did Tough Enough.
Yep.
I think Tough Enough is how he got his WWE contract, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Man, he's actually been wrestling longer than I realized.
Fucking almost 20 years.
Man, fucking good for him. Like, not many people that, like, started on reality TV, like, really got anywhere.
No.
And, like, there's only a handful of them that managed to, like, transition to like, anything else.
But also, even on the Real World, like, he talked about how he wanted to be a wrestler.
Yeah, no, like, I remember watching that season of the Real World and him, like, having, like, his little, like, wrestling alter ego that he would occasionally, like, walk around and, like, act like a late 90s Attitude Era wrestler. Yeah,
The Miz. Like, he's the same guy he's been for 21 years now.
Was that the character that he actually used on Real World, too? I didn't realize that. That's funny. But yeah, so, Rich, I assume you don't have a pick?
No.
So, Rich, what's the next book club?
Oh my god, I completely forgot to try to think about a club.
What the fuck,
nomination. Man? Hold on.
I mean, listen, if you really can't pick something, I could pick a thing.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's been a while, Drew. Throw something out
fine, there. We'll watch the 2001 NLL Championship game. It's on YouTube.
What does that mean?
National Lacrosse League.
The Philadelphia Wings. It's the last time they won the championship.
Okay. So it's
full
lacrosse.
Games on YouTube. Yeah. The Wings goalie from back then, Dallas Elliott, has posted a shit ton of just full games on his YouTube channel.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool.
Some of them are like recordings from the ESPN broadcasts. Some are just like somehow he got the in-arena video board feeds, and like it's just that video board feed for the whole game. Like, it's not like a camera of it, but it's the footage that would be playing on the screen, so it'll have like the graphics for the goal scorer or whatever. So sometimes you're missing some of the action because it still has like just a picture of a player and their name on the screen.
Man, YouTube is unhappy with that search.
I mean,
they refuse to acknowledge that I typed NLL, and all the results are for NBA Championship 2001, which was the Lakers versus the Sixers. So there's a lot of thumbnails of Shaq, Kobe, and Iverson. All right, there we go. I found it now.
So this is the feed that played down here in the U.S., which was on ESPN, but it was taken from Canadian TV, the Sportsnet. So definitely maybe a little Canadian bias in the commentary, but it's a really good game that comes down.
Like, I've never watched lacrosse. Is it like more or less like hockey rules?
Yeah, like honestly, it's a hybrid of like hockey and basketball. So take basically all the penalties from hockey, but there's no offsides and there's no icing, but like slashing and cross-checking.
Oh, can you just like fucking fire the ball all the way down court and it doesn't make a difference?
Yeah, no. I mean, you're probably not going to get it back.
But like, if you're just
right
if you're just in a bad spot and you're just trying to clear it away from your goalie, like you can just launch it to the other end and like figure it out.
Yeah, but
okay.
Again, like unlike hockey where it's way easier to separate the puck carrier from the puck, it's relatively difficult to get the ball away from someone with it in their stick.
Oh, I guess that's true because they are basically like carrying it.
Yeah, but like basketball, you only have so long to get the ball from your side of the field across midfield.
So that time, almost like a play clock, shot clock sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and then there is a shot clock on top of that. Like you have 30 seconds to get a shot on goal.
Like even if you're like passing it and stuff like that?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Just like basketball. Like basketball, they have 24 seconds to take a shot that hits the rim. Indoor lacrosse, you have 30 seconds to take a shot that either goes in or hits the goalie or the post to get a reset.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
But and then like the offense, so offense and defense kind of play more like basketball, where hockey, you don't necessarily really get into like set plays that much. Like you'll get into an offensive possession, but basketball, there are like plays like isolation and pick and roll and whatnot. Indoor lacrosse plays a lot more like that, where players will pick and roll. You might have 4 of your offensive guys kind of go to one side and let the one guy try to just control the ball and get the shot on his own. Different things like that.
Because there's no like traveling or anything either, right? Like
nope.
Somebody gets the ball, they can run from one side to the other and take a shot, and like they're good.
Yep.
Okay.
Like pretty much the only thing you can't do while you have the ball is like you can't like pin your stick to your chest so that the defender can't try to take it away from you.
Yeah, don't you kind of have to like hold it up and out and like cradle it, like spin it back and forth to keep the ball in there?
You don't have to really spin it to keep the ball in there, but what that does is makes it harder for the defender to hit your stick to knock the ball out.
Okay.
Because now it's like a moving target.
Okay, that makes sense.
Maybe even back then, a little more of the cradling was to kind of keep the ball in, but the pockets on the men's lacrosse sticks are so deep that like the ball is just going to stay in there as long as you don't turn it upside down.
Okay. Yeah, I thought like because they're like nets, right? Like they're not like hard.
There's different types. Most use a soft like netting mesh. Some players do use like hard leather strips, especially back then. Now it's really uncommon to see anything other than the soft mesh, but
okay. Yeah, I always assumed that they did like the spinny thing because like it was like a softer mesh, and I figured that kept the ball kind of like pinned to the back of it as like the thing would wag back and forth so the ball wouldn't just like pop out of it.
Yeah. No, it definitely does, but at the same time, you're not running indoor, especially, you're not running that far that fast that the ball, like your natural stepping is going to make the ball bounce out, really.
Okay.
But as someone who's played around with a lacrosse stick enough, like you can feel as you're cradling the ball like push against the back of the stick, like with that momentum.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, so that will be for our Thursday, September 15th episode, which we will be recording on the 13th, just so you guys don't forget. Or no, we won't. No, I'm sorry, that's next week that we're recording a day early.
Right.
Sorry,
okay.
I can't fucking keep track of things anymore. But anyway, so Richie, you mentioned at the top of the show, I did pick up the Cowabunga collection, which is like 15 classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games.
So
Oh
really
wow,
that
it's that many. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a little misleading, because it's a lot of like pseudo duplicates in a weird way. I'm bringing up the list real quick now. So it's got all the Game Boy games for one, which are kind of like, okay, that's cool, but also like they're from the fucking Game Boy. Okay, it's 13. It's 13 games. So you've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES from 1989, the one with the infamous underwater level. You've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game from 1989, which is more of like the multiplayer, like beat 'em up, like most turtle game that you like think of, like the side-scrolling beat 'em up. It's just closer to like an 8-bit aesthetic because it's like somewhere in between like an 8-bit and a 16-bit look. And then it's got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Fall of the Foot Clan, which was the first Game Boy game. It's got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, the arcade game. Then it's got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Back from the Sewers, which is also a Game Boy game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project on Nintendo, the original NES. I'm sorry, I skipped one. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. So this is one of those ones where it gets weird. So you have the TMNT arcade game from 89, and then the following year on the Nintendo, they released that same game as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, for consoles. It's just, it's a little bit different because it's a console game versus an arcade game. They do a similar thing with Turtles in Time. So Turtles in Time, they have the arcade version, and then they also have TMNT 4 Turtles in Time on the SNES. We've also got the Manhattan Project on Nintendo. Did not realize how many fucking Nintendo games there actually had been. Like, the first 3 Turtles games were Nintendo games. We've got the Hyperstone Heist, which was the first Sega Genesis one, and it was more or less comparable to Turtles in Time. Like, different story and everything, but like the gameplay and visual aesthetics were essentially the same. We have the third and final Game Boy game, which was Turtles 3 Radical Rescue. And then we have 3 fucking versions of Tournament Fighters. We have the SNES version, the Sega Genesis version, and the NES version, which I had no idea there was an NES version of that game. I thought it was just 16-bit.
Right. I really can't imagine 8-bit fighting games. Like,
yeah, like same. But those all came out in 93, so it was the tail end of the Nintendo. Though I think they were making Nintendo, like, I think, like, there were a couple Nintendo games that came out in, like, 94, 95. And then this collection, it's got 4 games that actually support online multiplayer. So, Tournament Fighters, the SNES version.
Which, yeah, that would be the one you do.
Yeah. The Hyperstone Heist.
Okay.
Turtles in Time Arcade, and the original arcade game all support online multiplayer.
Okay.
And then everything else is either single player only, or some of the games that had multiplayer to begin with also have local multiplayer. So the original arcade game, 2 on the SNES, Turtles in Time, the arcade game, the Manhattan Project, everything except the Game Boy games and the original one have local multiplayer. I just realized. So, there's a lot of stuff to do. There's some cool, like, in the game things. There's actually strategy guides kind of in the game to point you in certain directions for things, which I thought was neat. I opened it up I saw it in the menu, and so I opened it up for Turtles in Time because I'm like, okay, I know this game pretty well. I wonder what they're suggesting you do. And like, one of the things was like against the Shredder fight. It's like, hey, you can't attack Shredder, so make sure that you like throw the Foot Clan soldiers at Shredder at the screen. Here's how to do that. I'm like, okay, that's cool because that's not actually it's not intuitive how you do the throw at the screen. Like Rich, you just played the new one. It's actually pretty easy to do the throw at the screen.
Yeah, you grab them and you push up, you push down, up or down, whichever one. I don't know. I know it when I'm playing. I don't know it. But
so there is no grab button in Turtles in Time. You have to attack the enemy, like the foot soldier, so they're stunned. So like they're like doubled over, and then you have to move closer to them, but not too close, and then hit attack again. And if you do it in the right spot, it will throw them at the screen. If you do it in the wrong spot, it'll just attack. And if you do it in an almost spot, you'll do the like back and forth slam.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's very like it's not intuitive and it's not easy to do when you're getting swarmed by enemies.
There's no grab button in Shredder's Revenge or Revenge of Shredder. I can't remember what it is. There's no grab button in that either. You just walk up to the enemy. You literally just walk up to the enemy. No matter how, like, if they're depending on the color of their suit. So it's generally mostly just the foot soldiers that you can throw, as far as I know.
I believe it is only the foot soldiers.
If they're purple, you can throw them. If they're red, you can throw them. If they're like other colors, like white, black, or I can't remember, orange, I think, you have to hit them a few times to knock them down once, and then you can throw them.
Right. So like it's a little easier and more intuitive in that game than it is in Turtles in Time. Like, and like that game also gives you a tutorial up front. It's like, hey, here's how you do all the things. Whereas this one, like that, it's a 93. It's a game from 91, I think, 92. So like it doesn't tell you how to do any of that, and it was an arcade port. So like arcade games, especially at that point, like they didn't want you to know how to do things. They wanted you to fail and die, and they wanted you to just keep feeding quarters to that machine.
Arcade cabs also had way more buttons than console controllers did.
Not always.
Yeah, I don't think the Turtles arcade cabinet didn't have.
Pretty sure it was a 2-button game.
Yeah, it's just it was jump and attack.
All right, maybe, I don't know. I could have swore it had like 4.
It's a 4-player game, so there were 4 sets of controls on it. But even then, it was an SNES game, so the SNES had 4 face buttons and 2 shoulder buttons.
I never played Turtles in Time then, I guess.
Well, that was a mistake, because it is one of the best ones.
I didn't have an SNES.
Did you guys have a Sega?
You did, but I don't think we had Ninja Turtles on a Sega.
Man, you're missing out.
It's not my fault.
Turtles in Time was also on Xbox Live Arcade for a while, and it was actually a pretty good version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, if you have any nostalgia for these games, totally worth picking up the collection. Drew, I was talking to you about this a little bit yesterday. Like, it is a little pricey. Like, it's $39, and, like, $39 for 13 games seems reasonable, but when you look at it, and it's 3 versions of the exact same fucking game, and then a bunch of games that are essentially the same, where you have, like, the arcade version of it, and then the console version of it. But, like, there are a couple of these games that, like, I legitimately like a lot, and, like, this is the only way to legally own them on, like, modern consoles, so, like, I was okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, said, I legit am totally down for it. I want to play it.
Yeah. I did play, I started up the original Ninja Turtles before I jumped into anything else, and, that game sucks still. Like,
yeah.
Especially, like, that water level. That water level is just fucking broken. And, I mean, it is. It's, like, legitimately broken. We were talking about that, too.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing that like, a lot of, like, these, like, like, collection things, like, they did it for Final Fantasies and stuff, too. There are some, like, added little features that they put in these games. So these games have a rewind feature, where, like, you can actually rewind, like, quite a bit, actually, if you, like, fuck up really bad. And you can also make save states as you're playing. So, like, that's cool for, like, some, like a level like the water level. Even with save states and the ability to rewind, by the time I got so I don't know if you guys remember that level. You have a time limit. There are a bunch of bombs you have to defuse. And then there's the electric gates that turn on and off, and all the electrified seaweed stuff that will, like, grab you and just kill you. The controls are awful. Like, they barely function. And you have to make your way through this and find all of these bombs to defuse in the time limit. There's no radar. There's no real, like, here's how many bombs there are. So you just kind of have to hope for the best. And the one thing that game had going for it was you can switch turtles on the fly. You can pause the game and just switch between them. So if one of your turtles is almost dead, you can switch to another one before they die. But you also don't get health back between levels.
Mm-hmm.
Because the game is kind of almost like it just keeps going even after levels finish. So, like, depending on how you were doing leading up to that, like, you're probably not going to have 4 turtles at full health. And even the slightest touch to some of the seaweed, it will grab you and just drain your health all the way down. I tried, like, 5 or 6 times, and, like, I got a lot of the bombs defused. I can't find the rest of them before time runs out, though. And the swimming mechanic is so bad that, like, I just lost interest in even trying.
Because some of the buttons you think would do things in the swimming actually don't.
Yeah, like, I am still not entirely sure how the swimming works.
Watch that video I sent.
Yeah, I do actually have to watch that. it's like sometimes I felt like a button was doing a thing, but then like I would stop for a minute to like kind of like recalibrate myself, and then that button wouldn't seem to do that thing anymore, and I'm like, I don't actually know what was doing the thing now.
Like, I forget what it is, but I don't think down actually does anything when you're swimming.
I think you're right. But also like you have to hit like A or B or something, but like it doesn't seem to be like, it's not like any other game where like in Mario, if you hit the button, it makes Mario slowly move like diagonally up and forward because like you're just always kind of moving forward. But in this, it's like the hitting the button didn't seem to actually do anything half the time. Like it was super weird and inconsistent and just bad. But so that's when I jumped into Turtles in Time and I played through the first few levels of that. I'm like, this is how a good game plays.
Yeah.
And like Turtles in Time and Hyperstone Heist for that matter, super similar to Shredder's Revenge. Like those were definitely the templates for that game.
Yeah, I mean it's whichever one is the most recent one before Shredder's Revenge, like it plays off like right after. It's like part of its story.
So I don't know if it actually is directly connected to Turtles in Time or Hyperstone Heist, or like which one it would be, because those games came out at the same time and they do have two different stories. But yeah, like it's essentially like you said, it's well, like this is assuming that you played a game where you defeated Shredder, and like this is like the outcome of defeating Shredder, but like it's Shredder's revenge, so it could kind of like fall anywhere.
It cracks me up because I've played the Shredder's Revenge several times now, and I've beaten it each time. I think let's see, Donnie, because he's the best turtle, Casey, Shredder, and April were the four that I've done it with, and so I still have 3 more times to play it with. But I did do arcade mode with someone, and we beat it with that person. I beat it with that person as well. Every time I've beaten the game, and you knock out Shredder at the very end of the game, and he just goes, "No, my revenge! How could you?" or something like that. I just crack up laughing, because that is the dumbest line in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You know, speaking of Shredder's Revenge, I think it's funny that the last 2 big bosses of that game are actually not that hard. Like, the Shredder fight isn't hard once you, like see what the pattern is.
Yeah, I mean, the Super Shredder fight is very, very easy, and so is the Krang fight in that level. It's just that there's 2 bosses back-to-back that make it hard, and I'm sure if you were to play it in a harder difficulty, it might be even more difficult. I've only played it on normal. The worst boss, in my opinion, in that game is the fucking,
Zurg, or whatever.
The what?
I don't remember what his name is, but he looks like Zurg from Toy Story, the Buzz Lightyear villain.
No. I don't know who that is.
He's the one that actually teleports in front of the screen that you have to throw the foot soldiers at.
Oh, that one. That one. Yeah, no, that one's easy. That one's so easy.
See, I had trouble with that one because I was having trouble getting the throws to work because like so many foot soldiers were coming in at a time. I only did it. It only took me like 3 tries, but the 3 tries were because that happened to be the level that I tried to do online play for, to test it out, and it in the middle of that fucking boss fight, it disconnected and kicked me out of the level.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
No, what was it? It's the Jeep. It's the first surfboard level where you have to fight the Jeep. That's the worst boss.
Oh, I had no trouble with that at all.
Oh, it's easy, but it's the worst boss because if you get even a little too close to it, it hurts you. And your attacks move you forward just a little bit. So you can't chain more than 2 or 3 hits at a time depending on the turtle you got or the character that you got. So if you're using a more close-range character, 1 or 2 hits, then you gotta back up. 1 or 2 hits, and you gotta back up. And it's a pain in the ass, is really what it is. It's not hard. It's just a pain. That one and Rat King. Because every 5 hits, he jumps away and summons the rats. And Rat King it's not that it's hard, it just takes so long because of that extra time.
What? Rat King was bad because, like, the rats were actually kind of hard to dodge and avoid, too. So, like, it was very tedious and time consuming.
I just do the jump attack the entire time. And it's fine. But.
Yeah, some of the other bosses I actually thought were a lot of them were actually pretty easy. But, like, in my opinion, Shredder and Krang at the end were the 2 easiest. And it's funny that, like, your final bosses ended up being, like, the 2 easiest bosses.
It might have... I don't know why they chose to do it that way. It might be because, at least... And it might not be specifically they're the easiest, but they might be easy in general, or easier in general, because that last level in story mode, one of the challenges is to do it without getting hurt. So maybe they were trying to make, like, at least a pattern recognition type thing to where it would be easier to do if you just know what attacks or patterns are coming at you. But
maybe.
It's like...
At the same time, though, that game was a big fuck you for a lot of those levels where it said, hey, do this without getting hurt. So...
I mean, there's only 3 levels where it's don't get hurt. It's the first level, the last level, and like one in between, I think. But the rest of them are, any of the don't get hurt ones are don't get hit by a trap, or generally don't get hit by a trap or don't fall down a hole. Those are the only other don't get hurt ones, and there's a bunch of those, which is always really easy.
So you've played it a lot more too. I only played it through all the way once, so it seemed like there were more of those, and I did not get any of them.
No, I mean, I haven't gotten the don't get hurts, but I've gotten the, like, don't get hit by traps, and don't fall down holes. I've also collected every collectible, every playthrough except for one, and have reached level 10 by, like, I think there's 18 levels by, like, 14th level. So it's like, I'm always way over-leveled and more powerful than you have to be by that point.
Yeah, whereas I'm just like, I played through it once, I went in and messed around with a few characters, but didn't really do a whole lot past that.
Mm-hmm. I want to, each character has their own end title card, so I want to see all of them, and there's an achievement to get all of the characters, and beat the game with each of the characters on story mode at level 10.
Yeah, which that makes sense. I played on Switch, so, like, achievements don't matter.
I mean, there's still, like, it's in-game achievements. Like, I would still do it if I had it on Switch.
No, I mean, I know that, but, like, I don't care about those things in general.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, like, it's even less impactful because it is just, like, it's this in-game thing that doesn't actually, like, do anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't care about them if I didn't actually absolutely fucking love the game and adore it. And
yeah, I like, believe me, I like the game a lot. Like I said, like, I've dipped back into it a couple of times, just, like, I'm just gonna, like, run around as, like, a different turtle and, like, do a couple levels. But it's never, like, I'm not into, like, playing it again so soon, like, all the way through.
I am, because it's only 2 hours, and it's
You also like repetition?
Not really.
I don't know. You rewatch a lot of the same shows and shit.
I mean, that's for different. I mostly do that just because I don't want to have to pay attention to anything, but I need something on. But, like, when it comes to gaming, I don't generally like playing the same games multiple times. I don't like having to do it over and over and over again. Like,
see, I wouldn't have thought that
I don't know,
because you play stuff like
Hunter.
Monster Hunter and, like, the survival games and stuff like that.
I mean, there's a difference with, like, Monster Hunter and the From Software games where it's like, I'm not just doing it over and over and over again. I'm, like, learning with the From Software, it's like I'm learning and trying to beat the boss. Monster Hunter, yeah, it's a different kind of story. I just generally really enjoy the gameplay, but I will never play those games again. Like, I did it with Rise because I had to in order to play Sunbreak, but I will never go back through Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. I will never go back through Monster Hunter Rise. I will never go back through a previous Monster Hunter title, because I do not like doing that. I think it's stupid. I think it's boring. I think it doesn't make sense. Just continue to play the game that you have. Like, but again, if you like doing those, I'm not trying to trash on anybody who likes doing it. I'm not a fan of.
It sounds like you are. It sounds like you're being a real douchebag to everyone that likes playing them over and over again.
I'm just not a major fan of replaying a lot of games that I've played before, but, like, something that's as quick as 2 hours long, I'm always down for, because it's also just fun. The soundtrack is amazing, and it's just like
it does have a very good soundtrack.
Senua's Sacrifice was a 7-hour game. I beat it in 7 hours, 7.5 to 8 hours, something like that. I have uninstalled it from my PC because, like, all right, I beat it. I don't have to play it again. It was beautiful. It was amazing. I loved it, but I don't have to play it again. I beat the game. There's no real reason for me to play.
Well, why don't we just transition into that then?
Sure.
What did you think of Senua's Sacrifice?
It was beautiful. I loved it. It was an amazing game. I can't remember what... I wish I could remember exactly what I said.
Way to not even know what you just said.
I don't listen to myself. I barely listen to you guys.
Drew, I think we figured out, like, Richie's opinion doesn't matter because he's just making it up every time.
True.
I mean, isn't that how everyone's opinion is?
No. But you make up different opinions for the same thing each time.
But it all means the same shit.
Does it, though?
I said the same thing, though. It's beautiful. It was amazing.
You go get me a thesaurus. You look up all the synonyms for all those words, and we'll see.
Well, I don't know what the words were at this point. I don't listen to myself.
Exactly.
But I think Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, is a game that a lot of people, honestly, that everyone should play. I thought it was an amazing story.
Question for you real quick before you get too far into it.
Yeah.
I always heard people say Senua's. Are you saying it how they say it in the game, or are you just saying it how you assume it's pronounced? I'm legitimately curious.
How am I saying it? Because I'm playing Senua. I'm saying Senua.
That time it sounded like that, but before it sounded like you said something different.
As far as I can remember me saying, but I don't listen to myself, I was saying Senua's Sacrifice the entire time. So
okay, never mind then. Drew, did you hear something different, Drew?
No, I don't.
Okay, it sounded like you said, like you pronounced the name differently. Maybe I just, like, my headphones weren't picking it up right.
I don't know. I was mumbling a little, I'm sure, as well. But I think this game is fantastic. I love the storyline behind it. It follows Norse mythology about a woman named Senua who lost her lover. And
it's Norse mythology.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
She is going... she's taking a journey to hell to find her lover's soul and get it back. And as you play through, you find out that she has some sort of corruption, and even almost immediately, like 15 minutes into the game, and I hadn't even walked yet, immediately you start to hear, and this is what the game does really well, like voices. But it's not just like voices of like characters talking, it's inner voices, like multiple, not necessarily multiple personality, but the developers, Ninja Theory, worked with doctors who worked with patients and worked with also patients who suffer from psychosis. And they made this game was developed to help you feel the senses and sensation of going through what she's going through, which is why they push you to play this game with headphones. If you're not playing it with headphones, you are really, really missing out.
Do they actually prompt you to do it, or
they prompt you so many times to listen to it on headphones, to play it in headphones, so many times. And it's like you would not get the same effect with anything else, because there were times I literally thought somebody was right behind me talking. That's how good the 3D audio and the binaural audio they were doing. There were times that like I was listening and you're only getting audio through one headphone, through one ear, because it's supposed to be somebody whispering to you from that ear. But who is that somebody and where are they? And you look around and there's nobody fucking there.
So
and
how
not
many
just
times did you get startled?
But like, and I'm not saying just in real life, like in game too. There's nobody around you. You are alone this entire game.
No, I understand, but like, did you get startled at all while that was happening?
There were a few times, not quite startled, but like my ear would twitch because I would hear something and like I wasn't expecting it, and it sounds like it was right there. It sounds like it was over there and stuff like that. The things that would get me the most is because of everything that they did in that game with audio. I made sure to have my headphones up a little bit louder, and then I was streaming it, obviously. And some of my viewers would play sound effects or things like that when I was hyper focusing and whatnot, and it would blow my eardrums out, and blow me away. That was more so the more startling things. But like they use the audio and they use the voices not just as like a device to like help you feel what she feels and help you go through what she's going through. They also use it in gameplay. If you're getting attacked from behind, because there's no HUD. It's just the game. So if you're getting attacked from behind, you'll actually, right before the attack happens, you'll get like a whisper like, watch out behind you, make sure to dodge, don't let them get behind you, stuff like that. And it comes from where they are. Okay. Yeah. It's just, like, overall, like, the game is beautiful. And it's very dark, so it's weird to say that a game is so beautiful when it's as dark as it is. But it is very dark. They tell you to turn the gamma down to where you can barely see the symbol. There's two symbols. Turn it down to where you can barely see the symbol. I'm like, well, which symbol? It doesn't tell me which symbol. It just says, so you can barely see the symbols. Or the symbol, it just says one. So I tried to turn it all the way down, and it was way too... I couldn't see. I had to actually turn it up a few times. Keep messing with it my first time. It is only about 7.5, 8 hours. And I didn't actually get the full true ending, but what I missed, it's not really the ending, it's just like a small cutscene before the final fight, or the final boss, that I meant to watch. But, like, I think, honestly, Cobb, this game, like, you know me and Drew and a number of us deal with anxiety issues and whatnot. I feel like this game would help you kind of understand a little bit more of what we deal with from time to time, with a lot of the self-doubt being thrown at you through these voices of people, just of random voices talking to you throughout the day and throughout the game. Like, I think this game is a very strong game for people who don't understand mental illness.
Now, Rich, and Drew, like, back me up here. If you're hearing voices, I think you might want to talk to somebody.
I'm not saying I'm hearing voices, but the game does its best way to instill, like, the psychosis, which, like, I don't hear voices, but I get that self-doubt that some of these voices were pushing towards her. And
no,
I get the anxiety and everything, and I really think this is a very strong vehicle for people who don't quite understand a lot of mental illness.
So, out of curiosity, are the voices actually, like, a sinister force, or is it all, like, internal?
It's all in her head, as far as
I
can tell.
Okay. That's what I was curious about.
It is her falling deeper and deeper into madness because of the loss of her lover. And
okay.
And going through what she has to go through in order to get him back brings her further and further below and further down. But it's weird with how the game ends and wraps up. Like, I actually have to, like, look it up and do some research to fully understand how it ended and what was going on, because, like, I was not expecting what happened to have had happened, and I wasn't expecting, like, I wasn't expecting, like, a lot of that wrap-up scenario to wrap up the way it was, but I thought it was so well done, and it was really, really good. The combat itself is mostly fine. It's not, like, the most spectacular combat in the world. The game was not made to be specifically combat heavy, but there are a good number of fights and sequences like that, but a lot of the game is more so the experience and less about the fighting, but they did have to, like, throw in some sort of, like, actual game mechanics in it, so that, like, the more damage and attacks you hit on an enemy, you fill up a focus bar, and then you can use the focus bar to, like, slow down the enemies around you, or some of them have the ability to, like, phase out and just be a smoke monster. You can focus for that. Later on in the game, when you get the different weapon, you can use your parry ability to knock them out of their smoke existence or whatever. I really liked the combat. I thought it was fun, and the designs of some of the enemies that you fight. Because you fight Surtur, which is, for those of us who don't know much of Greek mythology, or not Greek, Norse mythology, the best way for me to explain Surtur to you is, or Surt, not Surtur, Surt. He's the big fire demon from Thor Ragnarok. So you fight him. You fight Valraven, which is the god of illusions. You fight Fenrir, which was a weird iteration of Fenrir. And then you fight Hela as well. And, like, all of the character designs and art and like, character builds for these gods and for these characters. Like, Fenrir was the only one that I was like, this is weird. But the rest of them just looked so awesome. Especially Hela. Hela was so cool. And I love the path and direction he went, and how, like, honestly, how kind of realistic this game looks, and how well they did with the graphical capabilities. Like, I know we were earlier saying, like, graphics don't really do much, and, like, they don't, but it's still a beautiful game. Like, if this game were made 10 years ago, I'd still say it's a beautiful game for 10 years ago. Like, I don't actually remember how old Hellblade is.
I think it's like 5-ish years old.
Yeah.
What is it, 2017? 2017? Yeah.
Yeah. I meant to look up who did all the mocap for Senua, because I wanted to see what else they may have done, but I forgot to. But yeah, it's wild. And after playing each day, because this is a very heavy game, I ended up having to like chill and relax and watch I was watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine to just chill out and laugh for a bit before bed. And then when after beating it last night, I beat it in I started at 7 and I finished it at 9. I was like, all right, let's actually get the true ending for Tunic. And so I went in and just looked at I basically, for Tunic, I looked at the book for 20 minutes, half hour.
Oh, jeez.
I looked at the book, I went around and tried other puzzles that, I hadn't solved yet, that aren't necessary to beat the game for the true ending. But, for the most part, it was just me talking to chat, this is what I'm trying to figure out. And after about 20, 25 minutes of, just looking at it, I was like, I gotta look this up. And I looked it up, and the solve is the most ridiculous thing ever. So I think I told you that last time, the last puzzle I did before I went and fought the boss was a 30-something button press solve.
Yeah, you did mention that.
8 times 14, what's that?
True.
32 plus 80, it's 112.
Man, fuck this guy.
So let's go. I think because it was I think it was it was about 112 button presses that you had to push to open this door to get to the last piece. And the solve, once I found out what the solve was, I started going through it to try to figure it out and look at it myself. And I'm I looked at the stream and I looked at my camera. I was I totally jimmed the camera too. I was I'm not doing this on stream. I'm just going to use the guide because it's basically what the puzzle is. And I know we moved from Senua to Tunic. I just want to talk about this real quick. I'll go back to Senua in a second. But what the puzzle is it shows you basically a big golden plate with a bunch of numbers on it. So the first number you go to is 12, and then it points you up to 12. And then you go to, then there's just numbers all over, 9, 14, 16, blah, 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 48, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there staring at it, and I can't figure it out. And then when I read the solve, it's, each number on there equates to a page in the book. And so you have to go to that page in the book and find where the golden lines are and piece together the puzzle from there.
Yeah, that does seem like a lot.
It is a lot. If you just look up the final puzzle for Tunic, and it ends up being 100 and something button presses that I failed 3 times at before I was able to get it right.
Have you thought about getting good?
Even with it sitting there in front of me, I still failed at it 3 times. The first time is because my screen started to turn off on my phone. So then I had to change, because it takes so long to press, I had to change my my screen cooldown time to 5 minutes. And then the next 2, I was near the end, and I accidentally, either I hesitated too long, or my eyes were reading too fast, or at certain points it doubles up, and I'm just this is, oh man. But I was able to get it. It was great, and it's great. But that was quick aside by Tunic. But that's, Hellblade gets very heavy. That I needed that Tunic before I called it a night. I needed that chill fun time before calling it a night, and that's one of the things I love about Hellblade. I would definitely go back and play it again in the future. It's only a short game, but I would love to experience this game with other people, or have other people experience this game and watch people experience this game and see what they think. I had people on my stream saying that the whispers were annoying, but like I was saying earlier, the Twitch probably doesn't produce this 3D sound effects as well as the game would. So they didn't know that it was 3D sound effects. They didn't know that it was all over. They thought it was just people whispering, which I can understand that being annoying. Yeah. One of the things that the developer does is at the very beginning of the game, you go through, you get to a point right before you are able to cross the gates to hell. And you fight an enemy, and you're able to take them out a few times, but then eventually they turn into the smoke thing, and you don't have the ability to hit them and focus at that time. What was it? Then you die. You have to die. It's a scripted death. You die. And, when you come back to life, her arm starts to have some sort of corruption on it. And, it starts to grow. And they explain to you, Senua is corrupt. Senua has darkness within her. The more you die, the more corrupt the darkness will become on her and will go up her arm. If it goes to her head, your data will be deleted, and you will lose all progress.
Do you know if that actually happens?
It's a fucking lie. It's a fucking bold-faced goddamn lie. And I'm mad about it, but also so happy that it doesn't happen. I didn't die that much, but I wanted to science it to see if it actually did happen, and it doesn't. I looked it up online, because at one point, on my first stream of it on Monday, I looked up how much more is left of the game, just to see if I could beat it on Monday, or if I should call it quits. So it was like 11 o'clock, but I'm like, I feel like I'm really far, so I should look this up. Because if I had like an hour left, I would have gone and beaten it, but I had like 2 to 2.5, something like that. So it was just like, alright, that's going to be pushing it too much. But as I'm looking that up to see like the next area, or how many areas are left, I for some reason decided to click on one of the Google suggested questions of, do you actually lose your data? And it's like, no, that's just the developers pulling the wool over your eyes trying to increase the tense and suspenseness of the game. And I'm like, that's fucked. Because I kind of wish they did that. But at the same time, I'm glad they don't. Because if you get to the end of a 7-hour game and then lose your data because you die, but there's not really that much combat, you shouldn't be dying that much. There really isn't that much combat.
Oh, really? I honestly assumed there was.
No, the game is not built around, it's not built for combat. The combat is good. It's like, I wouldn't say it's the best thing in the world, but it's good. The most combat you get is the final sequence. But overall, like, you get the occasional, like, maybe in total of the 7 hours, I probably had like 20 to 30 minutes of combat. The rest of the 7 hours was me walking around trying to understand and solve puzzles, figure out perspective puzzles and things like that. Like, most of the 2 hours last night, like the beginning of the two hours last night, there was like a few puzzles, or a few combats, and then it was just puzzles, and then boss, and then puzzles, and then boss. And that, like, total of maybe 10 minutes in total of combat and fighting yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, huh. It's not really built around combat. It's built around the
puzzles and exploration.
Yeah, the puzzles and exploration and the audio design and the psychosis and the story.
Okay. Yeah, like, I've only ever, like, seen, like, bits and pieces about the game and, like, never really looked into it. I thought it always looked neat and sounded interesting. It's one of those games that, like, I never got around to, and, like, I honestly don't know that I ever will.
I was actually thinking before we talked about it, like, up until we started recording, of suggesting this to be our topic for our evergreen episode, having you guys play this game, and we just talk about Hellblade. Because I think it is that good, and I wanted you guys to experience it without me really talking about it too much if you hadn't.
So I don't know that I have enough time to beat a game in 2 weeks.
It's 7 hours. It's an hour a day.
I don't have time to play games every day, dude. I play games on like a Saturday when I have time to.
How many hours have you put into Power Washer Simulator?
That's different.
No,
I can play that I can play that while I'm working.
But like, it was just an idea, is all I was saying, because I think this is a game that everyone should experience and play.
Like, if I didn't, like, legitimately, if I didn't have as much kind of going on over the next couple of weeks as I did, like, I'd actually probably say, like, yeah, you know what, like, let's give that a shot. But between, like, to swap with Drew, and I'm sure Drew actually has a bunch too, like, I actually have a bunch of concerts over the next 2 weeks, plus getting ready for vacation.
I mean, literally, I'm going to Cincinnati for a concert, and then coming back and going directly from the airport to a concert.
Yeah, like, we're going to a concert Friday, and then a concert Wednesday, and then the weekend we get back from our trip, like the following Friday, we go to another concert.
Yeah, and then, like, I might go to a concert, I might go to the same concert you're going to on the Wednesday, and I actually need to get an answer whether or not I'm going to a concert on the next day.
Yeah.
And then flying to Cincinnati and going to a concert, you know?
Yeah. It's a busy month.
It must be nice. Honestly, must be nice to be able to go to that many concerts.
Man, you can do it too.
I ain't got any fucking money.
Credit cards, my friend.
Because you're buying games. Go to concerts instead of buying games.
I haven't bought... the last game I bought was, like, Shower with Your Dad Simulator, which was $1.
Oh, actually...
You bought Monster Hunter.
That was like
a month
months ago.
You could have bought concert tickets instead.
It's a $60 game.
That's
I
not
could
a
have
concert
bought
ticket.
a concert ticket.
I mean, you
But you know what?
probably could have bought multiple. But
I got 80 hours, 100 hours plus enjoyment out of Monster Hunter. I would have gotten
A lifetime experience out of a concert. Boom.
2 hours experience with pictures I'll never look at again experience with a concert. I love concerts, don't get me wrong. I love concerts.
I don't think you do.
But
I don't think you do.
no, I do. But it's just I got more bang for my buck by buying Monster Hunter than I did a concert.
You know what? If you would just start that OnlyFans we keep telling you to, you could go to any concerts you wanted.
Yeah, well,
Stop dragging your feet. Stop dragging them and start posting them.
I'm not gonna. No, it's not gonna be. I promise you. I hate my feet. My feet are not gonna be on it.
You hate them? There is somebody else out there that doesn't, though.
No, I doubt it. My feet are gross.
No, like, I promise you, people are people get into some weird shit.
My feet are gross. But yeah, that's Hellblade is just, man. I want to say I think it's a game that everyone needs to experience.
Is it on like Game Pass or something?
It's on Game Pass. That's why I played it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's.
I thought maybe I didn't know if it was if it had been a PS Plus at some point, or if
No.
like you had it on Steam from forever ago.
No, I mean I still don't have a capture card, so I'm not doing PlayStation.
Oh, that's right. I
still,
forgot about that.
Which is why my PlayStation hasn't been touched in a year at this point. Because I don't really game on that
There are
thing.
bored children in Connecticut that would kill for that system.
They should probably have other systems to play too.
I mean, that is accurate.
So that's not my fault.
Or they should just go outside and like run in circles or whatever it is.
I mean, I don't go outside and run in circles, so I'm not going to say they should go outside.
Well, you're an adult.
I mean, adults still go outside and run in circles.
That's true.
So
That is true.
I've done it in the past.
Fucking weirdo.
It was more of like an ovular shape, disorganized circle, ovular shape. But yeah,
Was it are you talking about a mosh pit? That's
no,
different.
Audubon Park is not a full circle, or like the Audubon Lake Park.
Oh, you're talking about like at like running the lake. No, I meant like literally running in a circle like children do.
No. I mean, children don't really run in circles.
I don't believe you.
I've never. I mean, unless they're chasing each other and one keeps running in a circle to avoid being tagged.
It's called Duck Duck Goose, motherfucker.
There's that too. But like, kids don't actually play Duck Duck Goose out of school, do they? I never fucking played Duck Duck Goose when I was not in school.
They probably do.
Even in school, we didn't even do Duck Duck Goose. We did the game where you had to put your hands behind your back and somebody had to touch your hands and then you had to chase them. Because, like, there's no, like, people don't care about making sure people want to be touched and whatnot in school. But
anyway, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with Hellblade?
I'm excited for the sequel. It was originally slated.
That's like next year?
It was originally slated for 2022. It was slated for this year, but I don't know if it's been delayed or not. I was looking it up the other day, but I didn't look up too hard. But I'm interested to see, based on what I know of the ending and my understanding of the ending, I'm interested to see what's going on in this one.
Oh, and by the way, the actress for Senua is Melina Gergens.
Mhm.
She's never done anything else.
She
It
was
was literally the only thing she's ever done.
she was really good, really good.
Well,
'Cause
that's good.
I'm assuming they did a lot of I think a lot of her actions were mocapped actions, like even during cutscenes and whatnot. Like that's just what they do nowadays. And like her voice acting, voiceover was really good.
Cool. So last thing we have, I mostly unintentionally read all of Chainsaw Man over the weekend.
Mhm.
It's 100 at the time. It was 102 chapters.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's 102 chapters. It's about 19 pages a chapter.
Okay. Still, it's 1,000+ pages.
Yeah. No, like it. So manga doesn't take that long to read. Like it
Fair.
definitely flows quicker than like American comic books do. But yeah, it was a lot, and like I didn't mean to read all of it, and then all of a sudden I read all of it. It's super interesting though, and not what I thought it was. So it does have an anime that's supposed to start in the fall. And it's basically it's a world where devils exist, but devils are essentially like the compounded fear of something, like personified. So the more primal the fear, the more powerful the devil is kind of how they explain it. So like the darkness devil is one of the most powerful because so many people have that just primal fear of the dark. And actually, like, the most powerful one that you really see throughout the majority of the first half of the manga is the gun devil. Because, like, you know, gun violence is real and people are afraid of guns. And the way it's staged, is, like, the gun devil is kind of the big bad for the first 100 chapters or so. Because this manga had, like, a break. So the part 1 of it ran up to, like, chapter 97. And then it took about a year and a half off and then came back with chapter 98 actually just in July. Mm-hmm. And like up to 97, like the majority of that, you were kind of like the characters were kind of on this mission that like they wanted to find the gun devil and beat him. And this thing had appeared like decades earlier and in the matter of minutes just decimated the whole world. Like killing just hundreds of thousands into the millions of people like in different countries. And the countries that had the higher death rates were the ones that have higher gun violence. So, like, Japan happened to have the lowest death rate, which was still in, like, the tens of thousands, and the U.S. had the highest. Surprise, surprise. Mm-hmm. But so, like, because of that, like, guns were outlawed, and apparently, like, things like nuclear weapons and stuff were, too. So, like, those devils, were kind of just, like, the, like, they were powered by, like, the remaining fear, kind of. And the way that their life cycle ends up working is a devil can be killed. When it's killed, it goes back to hell and is reborn. If it is killed in hell, it's actually reborn again back on Earth. So it's like this, like kind of like revolving door. So you can never really get rid of a devil all the way. Mm-hmm. But it seems like when they die, they kind of like forget everything from like their previous like stint. And then you also have devils that take over human bodies and they become what they call fiends. And like they have some of the human memories, and if the human is strong enough, they kind of like retain some of their memories, but they're basically just the devil in a human body. And you have some devils that are either not super antagonistic to humans, like they're kind of indifferent to them, or that have been captured and are kind of forced to like cooperate. And they make contracts with people, and their contracts are like binding. Like if a devil agrees to a contract, that's that. Like that contract is binding, or they die. So like humans that are devil hunters find devils to make contracts with to get some sort of like power, and they basically make a deal of you give me this power and I will give you this thing. Like some of them give like some of their lifespan to them, or like there was one character that literally gave a devil its right eye to have like the ability to do something with it. In the manga, Chainsaw Man is this kid named Denji, and he was like an independent devil hunter that was basically being extorted by like the mob. That early on he has a pet devil that it almost looks like a pug mixed with a chainsaw mixed with a pig. Which I realize doesn't give the best description, but he was like this little like pig pug shaped thing with like a chainsaw for a face. And his tail was like the cord to start the chainsaw. So like when Denji was fighting devils, he would actually use his little like friend as like the weapon to kill them. And they both kind of get mutilated and murdered, and the devil in like as they're dying makes a contract with Denji that basically like brings him back to life but sacrifices his own kind of body. But that lets Denji become Chainsaw Man, which if you've ever seen him, he basically gets like 2 chainsaws for hands and his head turns into a chainsaw. And it's the most like ridiculous fucking metal bullshit you'll ever see. And like the rest of the manga is him working with the government, and being just the most like, he is at the same time innocent and like kind of a scumbag, because like he's never been to school. He doesn't know anything about anything. He's not doing this to like help people. He's literally doing it because they offered him 3 square meals and a date. And that's all he wants. He wants to get girls and eat food, because he lived off of like trash before that. But like he just keeps killing things for them, and it's surprisingly compelling.
Nice.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the mangas. Like I've been to like Barnes and Noble and whatnot and seen like some mangas for Chainsaw Man, and it always looks interesting, but I've never actually like thought to read it or whatever. I don't know. I'm out of touch with anime and mangas lately. But that does seem like a pretty solid story.
Yeah, like it's cool, and so you know how like My Hero kind of like circumvents like a lot of the anime tropes in favor of like superhero tropes. So this one, it almost does the opposite and like leans really hard into some of the anime tropes, but without them being like too ridiculous, if that makes any sense. Like the level of ridiculous actually fits with what's going on in the story.
Yeah.
Because they are almost like superheroes, but it's got like, you know, the main character was like an orphaned child that was like extorted by the mafia and just doesn't know any better about anything. And like at one point he like somebody tells like a female literally a superior tells him like, if you kill this demon, I'll give you a kiss. And he's like, I've never had a kiss before. Sure, why not? Mm-hmm. And then it backfires on him because the lady, when she kisses him, is like super drunk and ends up vomiting in his mouth. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So his first kiss is literally like followed up by actual vomit in his mouth. Mm-hmm. But because of how he like basically grew up, like it didn't actually make him that disgusted. Like he didn't like it, but like he didn't also vomit in return.
Okay.
He was just kind of bummed that was his first kiss. And then one of the side characters is a fiend, so like a devil that took over a human's body called Power. She's probably like the most like next to Chainsaw Man is like the most like recognizable character from the series. She's got like pinkish hair and like pink horns that stick out of the top of her head. She's a blood fiend though, so she can like cut her arm open and like pull a weapon out of her blood essentially. Mm-hmm. And like solidify it and control it and everything like that. And can also like exude some amount of control over other people's blood. So like at one point somebody gets injured and she's able to like stop them from bleeding. It just takes like extra focus. But she in theory works for the good guys, but is a fiend and like does not like humans. So like she's kind of like doing stuff like she doesn't want to do it, but she has to do it or they'll kill her. And she either like avoids helping at all or goes like 110% and tries to take all of the credit and usually backfires. And then immediately blames somebody else. And it's very fun to watch her kind of like fuck something up and then immediately go, well, Denji told me to do it. Mm-hmm. And like almost like a little sister. And like that's essentially what their relationship becomes. Like they become like siblings. And then like by the end of it, like you actually care about some of these characters a lot and the writer just fucking kills anybody. Like, there are people where you're just like, oh, they're not going to be killed. Like, there's no way they're going to kill this person. And then, like, the next issue, they're just fucking obliterated like it was nothing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Jesus, okay. So and it's not Dragon Ball. Like, these are people. They don't get brought back from the dead. But it's been cool. And I'm really interested to see what the anime looks like. Because I feel like it's like a studio that's like, people really like is doing it. So I'm hoping like it's adapted well and I'm hoping that it's like seasonal, like a lot like My Hero and a lot of modern stuff is, so that like it doesn't get too far ahead.
An anime like that, it'll absolutely be seasonal. Like it just, there's no doubt about it. They're gonna totally, hopefully not pull an Attack on Titan on it, but they're gonna totally do an Attack on Titan on it and just like very specific seasons, very specific endpoints. Just don't give me 4 seasons for 1 season.
Like, that is definitely the hope, but, like, it is a shonen, so I'm not going to assume. Mm-hmm. 'Cause, like, Black Clover was one where, like, that show should have been seasonal, because it was one of those things where it was interesting enough, but they definitely stretched some things. They only had a few filler arcs, and those filler arcs didn't really ruin stuff. But if they would have just been seasonal, they could have stretched things, and they wouldn't have caught up to the manga the way they did. So I'm hoping that's the case here, and they stick to seasonal, and they just, you know, once a year, once every other year, however long it takes them to produce it, they just get out, like, a chunk at a time, and they don't get too close to the actual manga, so they don't have to either cancel it the way they did with Black Clover, or start doing, like, shitty filler the way every other shonen show does it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's all. It's really cool. It is different enough that, like, when it comes to the anime, like, it's worth watching. Like, it's not like your average, like, shonen fighting show or anything like that, or like dumb fan servicey bullshit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, like I think that's one of the things I like. Like every time like you have something where like you think it's going to be fan servicey, they do something that makes it like as like unfan servicey as possible. Like the lady vomiting in the guy's mouth or something. So, yeah, that's it. Either you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
No.
All right. Well, I guess that will do it for this week then. Like we said before, in 2 weeks we are going to talk about the 2001 Lacrosse Championship.
Yes.
Which was it was the Philadelphia Wings against who, Drew?
The Toronto Rock.
Okay. And other than that, you can find more of our content over at www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us at your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcasting platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, all the fun places. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. That stuff all helps a whole bunch. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @one_quest on Twitter and Instagram. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo, and you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. And then, Rich, what do you have going on for streaming?
Nothing too special, but I'll start promoting this now since it's September. October, the goal is to beat Resident Evil 0 through 8. So make sure to come check out the stream in October when I'm gonna try to beat every numbered Resident Evil game.
Nice, and hopefully you can pull that off.
It shouldn't be too bad, but I should be able. Like I don't know. I'm hoping I can, but who knows?
But yeah, so you can check that out. And what's your Twitch channel?
Oh, I guess I should say that. Twitch.tv/b_walnuts. Also another thing, I just started a TikTok, which you can find the links to it on my link tree on my TikTok or on my Twitch. I post clips. If you're watching my stream and you think something's clip worthy, go ahead and actually clip it. And if it's an awesome clip, I might use it on TikTok and I'll throw you a shout out and whatnot as well.
And then how many bits do you charge people for that?
There's no, it's free.
I'm kidding.
No, it's free. You don't have to pay me to clip.
Okay, so you only charge people for things like walking around your table and stuff?
I mean, I don't charge people. Those are channel points. All you have to do is watch a stream.
I mean, bits and channel points are all the same.
No, they're not. They're absolutely not. They're two completely opposite, two completely different things.
They're the same. They're the same to me.
Not really. They shouldn't be if they are.
Anyway, we'll be back next week with something else to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
See you.
Bye.